to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we love to talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. My name's Don Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood, and today I am still fighting off the post-con crud.
Oh.
The traditional sniffles and coffees that you get after those things, but you know what? It was all worth it, boys. It was all worth it. I'd do it all over again.
Hello, my name is Dan Oliverio, author, public speaker, and chubby chaser. And point of information, Don, that is officially a gay event called Kennel Cough.
Oh, yeah. Call that after Comic-Con, too.
Yeah. I am in love with my new laptop stand. You can hear details about that on our little outtakes on Patreon. I can't tell you. Obviously, I am trying to tell you, but I can't tell you how thrilled I am with my new laptop stand because it does all the things I've ever wanted it to do.
It's just not possible.
It's not possible.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and today I'm a fine boy. Everything's fine.
It's fine.
I'm like real fine, not like I'm fine.
Not like I'm fine. Leave me the fuck alone.
If that's not the most Midwestern distinction between fine and fine, then I don't know what is. Hi, my name is Michael Willer. I'm a chubby chaser, and today I'm a pleasantly pleased podcast boy because we're using a new recording platform for our online episodes, and so far, fingers crossed, it seems to be better in pretty much every way.
Yeah.
Hey.
We can hear Dan now.
I know.
It's going to be weird recording an entire episode where we have to listen to the parts that Dan is talking. Like, it's going to be really weird.
No, wait, what about this, guys? What about this?
Oh, dear. So quickly, let me say thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers out there for helping us keep the lights on in the form of having an editor, which you'd be amazed is a vast improving factor on our show. It really is.
It's necessary.
We want to say thank you to Bearskin for providing us with a promo code of Big Fat Gay Pod to get 15% off of any of your underwear or swimsuit orders. And they supplied a couple of items that we brought to Bigger Vegas that some of us might have been able to show off. I'm not me. I'm very genteel. And
Don is very demure.
I'm demure. Thank you very much. We want to say thank you to Big Fig for continuing to support us through the years and supplying me with a good night's sleep last night. I want to remind everyone out there that our Discord service is up and running now. We have a nice little community out there.
For free. As opposed to like Patreon, which is like a paid thing. Discord's free. Anyone can join.
Or as the newsletter that you put coins into. Is that what you're saying?
It's not just conversation, but there are resources on there. There are links talking about the show. All sorts of fun stuff.
It's good vibes.
And last but not least, yes, the free, I repeat, free newsletter.
I also want to add, so we just posted a Bigger Vegas episode that we did live. That's out as a standard episode. But we also just posted on Patreon the full recording of the episode with the video, basically what the streamers saw, except I sort of cut it together to make it a little easier to see all of our faces.
It's very cool.
And you can also meet David at the very start of it too, our editor. So I think it's a good like peek behind the curtain if you want to see like what we look like while we're recording. That's basically it. I mean, I feel like
the chaos that is our world.
We were better dressed than normal. Maybe that's the difference.
We were dressed.
We were dressed.
So we will be returning to our Bigger Vegas content next week. We may have a little follow-up on some of the things and a few little
postcards from Bigger Vegas.
Postcards from Bigger Vegas. But we thought it would be good since we've had a little bit of Bigger Vegas focus for a little while. Let's take a week, sit back, breathe, get rid of some of our kennel cough, and revisit the world at large with some other topics.
Yeah.
But that said, we did get one quick postcard from a fellow attendee.
So this week's mailbag is extra special because it actually comes in the form of a audio file, which we're going to play for you right now.
Hey everyone, my name is Josh, and this is my first Bigger Vegas. I was really lucky to be invited to come and showcase a couple of the feature films I make with my queer fat positive production company, Sidekick Productions. I have been to a lot of festivals and I've shown my movies in front of a lot of audiences, but the thing that hit me the most was having never been to Bigger Vegas before. I didn't have this experience and I didn't realize how emotional I would get when I was showcasing my movies in front of the Bigger Vegas audiences. I make my movies for queer voices and fat voices and sex positive voices, and this was the first time that I've ever been able to screen my movies in front of the audience that they are designed for. Sure, I mean, I welcome all sorts of folk to watch them. I want everyone to watch them, but my movies are designed for the bigger Vegas type audience. And I was talking to them during the Q&A, and I was starting to get a little choked up because I didn't realize how much that would affect me until I was sitting there and saying those words out loud to them. And I actually did get a little more emotional than I expected. And then over the course of the whole week, I was in there watching all of these people in karaoke singing their songs and just having a good time. And I was like, I've never seen this in real life before, this sort of opportunity for people who should have a community and deserve a community, but don't get to have that community because of the way that society is oftentimes. And here we are coming together and celebrating, laughing and loving and being our unique, beautiful selves. And that was my takeaway from Bigger Vegas, is how special and important it is to have a community, not just for queer people, not just for queer voices, but for fat, sex-positive queer people to celebrate who they are and not be ashamed of who they are. That's my big takeaway from my first experience at Bigger Vegas. And honestly, I can't wait to go back to another one. And I'm going to have to try to check out other events too, because I'm excited to see this. And I'm embarrassed to say this too, because at 42, you'd think that I would have been to one of these events before, but I haven't. And I do feel like I've been missing something all this time. It was really a beautiful experience. And I'm so grateful that we have a space like this for us.
That's, I think, a very relatable sentiment.
Mm-hmm. Definitely is.
I know that's how I felt.
It's a direct mirror to our experience, right? Like,
Yeah.
You don't get any more specific to our content than Bigger Vegas, you know?
I think it's also interesting. He talks about his experience as a filmmaker, sort of screening his movies for different audiences. And I've done a bit of that myself. And I know that there is an intense, for me at least, an intense anxiety that sets in when the movie is in someone else's hands and you're just sort of, you know, you're along for the ride and you don't get to, I think it must be not unlike, you know, a stage director sitting in the audience for the opening night performance. It's like, well, it's in their hands now. I can't do anything.
Well, in the case of a stage director, which I am, remember the film is fixed. Like the film is never going to do something you didn't expect it to do, like on the screen.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're a stage director, it's like you're wondering, like, I hope this gets executed like we planned, and I hope it gets received like we wanted it to.
Yeah.
I just love, so when I tell people about Bigger Vegas, I kind of describe what Josh just did of getting to see all of these people in space with that joy, like talking with the, you know, the Chubioki, and that like you don't get to ever really see that any other place. Maybe if you go to a bear night at a bar or kind of fat activist space, but getting to have this experience of community spread out over a week is just something that everyone should get to do, and get to do it sooner so you can do more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to give a shout out to the gainer community, which, you know, has been very slow in coming to things like Bigger Vegas and stuff, because they figure, it's just a bunch of, you know, it's a bunch of chasers who want to get in my pants and a bunch of sad chubs who are going to be miserable about how fat they are. And that's sort of the stereotype. And I think maybe, you know, 20 years ago, there was a lot of truth to that. But I think it is so different now. And I think the pool is open to everyone. And I think especially, you know, there's nowhere else you can go where, as I always say, gay is normal and fat is sexy. And that is especially also needed in the gainer community.
One of the highlights for me was actually wandering around and chatting with people about their kink, right? Like I got to explore different people's attitudes about their own kink, about their journeys, about self-acceptance. And like in that environment, people were so open about talking in depth and really entertaining questions from a total noob that I hope weren't insulting, but they really filled me in on some things. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So thanks, Josh, for writing in. If we get some more, we'll share some more in the next episode. But we definitely wanted to make sure to get his voice on the show, since he's obviously been really active in the community up to this point, and now he's, you know, at Bigger Vegas, and I think that's always something worth celebrating.
Yeah. And if you missed out on the screenings, you can watch The Brooklyn Butcher on Amazon Prime. You can rent it or buy it. I don't think A Taste of Youth, the other film he screened at Bigger Vegas, is available.
But if that's not the case, Josh, let us know where we can find it.
And we'll pass it along.
Yeah. All right. Let's do some pop culture.
So I'm very excited about this. So this is from Deadline. And when I saw this headline, I almost chose this to talk about during the live show. There is a new documentary about Susan Powter. And Deadline frames this as from diet and fitness guru to Uber Eats driver. Stop the insanity. Susan Powter reemerges in new documentary at the Bentonville Film Festival.
Oh, so many feelings about this.
Yes. I wanted to talk about this at Bigger Vegas because in the four of us, there's a wide range of like knowledge of Susan Powter. And I knew Don was going to have stories, but my knowledge of Susan Powter was from Tigris Osborne, executive director of NAFA. And she would always reference Susan Powter, and I would just kind of like look at her, I'd tilt my head, and she'd be like, "Stop the insanity!"
That was the slogan, yeah.
If people aren't familiar, which I think I had heard this somewhere in the recesses of my memory, it's come up before, but I wasn't that familiar, so this might jog some memories. This is an infomercial of Susan's from the 90s, which will show you kind of exactly what you need to know about her.
Lose up to 10 pounds in 10 days. Sensational weight loss plan.
The average weight loss
disappear overnight. Can't come back. 300 calories.
Stop the insanity! Diets don't work. Now, I lost 133 pounds, but I didn't go from a fat person to a thin person. That's not what happened. I went from an unfit person to a fit person, and there's not anybody in this room who can't do that. Everywhere I go to airports, I go to hotels, I get thousands and thousands of letters a week, and I keep hearing the same thing. Oh, you're the lady that talks to fat people. Well, I don't talk to fat people. I really don't. I speak to anybody who can't walk up a flight of stairs without sucking wind. 2 stairs kill you. Doesn't matter if you're size 2. You're unfit. Who am I? Who am I to tell you any of this? Number one, I don't know if you know, I'm bald. Start there. Start there. Am I a doctor? Oh, no. No. I don't think they'd have me. I think I'm booted out of medical school. Do you imagine me signing up? Hi, I'd like to be a doctor. Get out of here. Am I a doctor? No. Am I a dietitian? Absolutely not. Am I a nutritionist? They certainly wouldn't have me. I don't think they like me very much. You know what I am? I'm a housewife that figured it out. Now, you can call my ex-husband and you can ask him, what's the most dangerous animal on earth? And he's going to tell you, an intelligent, angry woman.
So I would just like to point out, this lady looks like Charlize Theron in her prime. Like, she's chiseled. Yeah. She is gorgeous. There is a picture of her that they show at the start where she does look a lot fatter than she is in the infomercial. But can I just say, I wheeze when going upstairs because I have fucking asthma. So how about me?
Yeah, there's a lot of healthism here.
Yeah.
She's gotten sort of taken out of context and misconstrued. When she said stop the insanity isn't being fat. The insanity is the proliferation of bad diets and fad exercise and buy the thigh master and go on the orange peel diet. That is what she is referring to as the insanity. But here's the tricky thing. It's the slope. Her big secret, eat better and move more. That's her big secret, right? And she has made that into an empire. The problem is what that got stuck on is if you are fat, you are by definition eating poorly and not moving enough. And that's the misconception.
Right.
It's almost like she was sort of groping in the right direction.
Yeah.
She's sort of saying like the proto versions of what we eventually got to, of like, don't focus on fatness, focus on how you feel, right? Like, that's a hot, positive, healthy message, right? She's almost there.
Almost there, except
the language. I don't blame her. I feel like the language wasn't there yet. They weren't talking in those terms.
Yeah, it's healthism. It's just, I'm better because I'm fitter. And by the way, I love the word fit because what does unfit mean? It means unsuitable. And there is that conflation with fitness and suitability and fitness and orthomedical opinion, you know?
Michael and Trevor, I'm curious how you feel seeing this now, because like for Dan and I, Susan Powter fits into that 90s diet ecology.
Yes.
I don't want to group her with, say, Richard Simmons, which was more positive and reinforcing to positive things, but she wasn't like the flip side either. She wasn't the worst of the worst.
Seeing this article, and they have a promotional photo of her from the episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air she was on.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's who that lady was from that one episode. So to me, she is very much kind of like the butch lesbian Richard Simmons.
Yes.
I
Where it
could
is like,
see
it is
that.
no
I could see that.
nonsense, trying to help fat people, but like in a different kind of problematic way.
Yeah.
And I also see like the framework for a lot of current problematic wellness stuff. It's like Susan Powter screamed so Jillian Michaels could shout at fat people.
Well, again, the problem is the disconnect, because it's still common today. It's less common today. And it was all the rage in the 90s of we want people to be fit. And since it just happens that the opposite of fit is fat, people shouldn't be fat. They should be fit. And you could tell anyone's fitness by how fat they were. And that's the fallacy in the link. And we are very slowly coming away from that.
Yeah. And I also just want to point out, when you're looking at just her alone, like from modern standards, she's still pretty far off. If you look at her in the context of other fitness influencers from the 90s.
Absolutely, Don. Absolutely.
I don't remember her ever making me just want to hide my head in shame and slip my wrists and feel like I was awful. I felt like she was at least shouting back at some of the dietary industry that was yelling at me all the time. I'm not going to hold her up as a picture of modern perfection of kindness towards fat people, but just on the spectrum, like there were worse. That's all I'm putting out.
So the reason why this is topical is, as Trevor pointed out, there's a new film about Susan Powter. Specifically, it's a documentary by Zebariah Newman, which is a pretty awesome name, called Stop the Insanity, Finding Susan Powter, because she sort of dropped out of the public consciousness very suddenly and never resurfaced. And he was literally one day, he was just like, wait, whatever happened to her? Where is she? Who is she now? Because she was gone. He eventually tracks her down, and she was living in basically a slum here in Las Vegas, in one of the worst kind of like apartment buildings, sort of notorious for having a lot of police activity, and literally driving Uber Eats.
No, you got to nail that coffin. You got to nail that coffin, Michael.
Delivering fast food to people who were ordering it. And she's, as in her own words, dying every time she has to deliver.
Her job is now delivering fast food that she railed against to people to earn a living.
Yes.
I have so many feelings about this that are so it's so hard for me to unpack the very conflicting feelings I have about that, because I feel like it's very like, you know, this Hollywood elite is now forced to deliver fast food, which like that's a thing that happens. That happened to like the voice actor who voiced Brack on Space Ghost Coast to Coast. I always feel weird when it's like, look how far they've fallen, because it's like it is one of the worst jobs I think you can have, because it is so like rat in the wheel ratings tips. But also, like, it's an important thing. Like, people need that to get their groceries. They need it to get food. But there also is the Sisyphusian, like, as punishment for your crimes, you have to deliver Burger King.
To me, what Trevor was making it sound like was that this whole, like, movie was basically examining, like, how she deserves it. And that's not it. The movie, I think, is very sympathetic to her. It's executive produced by Jamie Lee Curtis, who I think they became friends like during the production. You know, I think the movie itself is intended to be a very empathetic look at the life of a person who probably in their own framing, like tried to do some good. And then because she trusted the wrong parties with her money, lost all of it and is now struggling. And that's kind of how it's all framed. But yeah, there is definitely that question of like, okay, well, in the grand scheme of things, definitely not like the worst, you know, fitness guru out there, but also not the best.
Yeah. I will say that looking at the preview for the movie, I found the preview interesting. It's a documentary I think I'd probably check out. I was surprised I wasn't getting sort of a desire for Schadenfreude watching it. Like, I didn't want to see this woman suffer. And I'm kind of glad for the tone it seemed to take.
Did you watch the Delta Work clip?
Okay. I was going to address that at the end of this. After seeing the Delta Work clip, At that point, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm ready for a little bit of schadenfreude on this woman, because that was not okay.
Susan Powter, despite kind of like disappearing, did appear as a guest judge on one of the many seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race. The queens were doing kind of like comedic workout videos as the challenge. And Delta Work, a fat drag queen on her podcast, talked about this experience she had with Susan Powter behind the scenes.
And then you had Susan Powter. Remember her? Stop the Insanity?
Yeah.
The ones with the buzzed hair?
Well, she was a judge on our season of Drag Race. She was, and she came around to like give advice to everyone. And she came
Okay,
up
wait
to
a
me.
minute. Why is she giving advice to anyone if she's a judge on Drag Race?
Well, she gave me really good advice. She came up to me and said, Delta, you could put a lot more into this. I want you to know when people wake up in the morning and they look at themselves, they would never want to look like you. So take that as a piece of advice. And I was like, oh my God.
Did you kick this bitch?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, to me, going into this conversation, like having read the article and seen her infomercial and being like, okay, well, it's problematic, but it could be worse. And then you hear that, and that's current day, more or less. Like that's within the last decade or so. So like, I don't give her the same clearance and leeway that I would for, say, Richard Simmons.
Yeah, there you definitely hear that conflation of you're not fit. We know that because you're fat. You couldn't possibly be fit and fat. They're opposites. And you need to stop being fat. That's absolutely there. Yeah. But you got to get, even now, that is a hard argument that a lot of people don't swallow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the 60-40 range one way or the other. Back then, it was 100% or 99.1%.
Yeah.
Nobody was even dared to question the assumption that fit is the opposite of fat.
Well, let's move on to something a little bit more positive and tasteful. Let's get into Fat Watch.
Fat Watch 2025.
I have the deflated eagle.
If you heard the episode and there was that laugh and some shenanigans happened, you can see what happened in the video posted on Patreon. We're done through a very large inflatable eagle into the crowd.
I blew it up.
We have pictures of Dan blowing an eagle.
We do have pictures of that on social. Anyway, Fat Watch this week. So we have an article in Fashion Magazine, which I feel like is important to underscore where this article exists, by Megan Ray. And the headline is Menswear Still Has a Size Problem. While women's fashion flirts with inclusivity, bigger bodied men are still missing from runways, campaigns, and shopping racks. Now, this, I think, is, we've talked about this, but I think it's incredible that Megan specifically is writing this article and like basically advocating for the fact that men's fashion is still pretty far behind. Like, you know, not to say that like women's fashion is perfect and they've figured out, you know, how to include fat people, but it's lagging substantially on the men's side. And she sort of goes out of her way to, she interviews some fat models and basically gets their perspective on what they're experiencing and kind of the tokenism of certain brands, like including a fat model 1 year and then basically forgetting about them for the next few years.
Yeah.
And that's very common.
I also love the inclusion of the dean of the Parsons School of Design,
Dr. Ben Berry.
I think I heard him speak at a conference that I was at in Toronto, but it was this person. He is so advocating for having clothes that fit people as opposed to selecting people to fit your clothes, which is how most fashion is supposed to work. Like here's the size you should aspire to because that's the size we want to design for. I think the best quotes in that article are coming from this design school.
Yeah.
And I love that so much because that's where the future is, you know?
So I have a little like highlight tool, and everything I highlighted from this article was from him. Just because it's like a lot of the article when I was first reading, I'm like, oh, this is kind of like, I feel like rehashing a lot of other articles we have shared in the past year. But I love that he really breaks down like, no, this is why this is an issue for men. Talking about traditional masculinity is defined through dominance, strength, and control. Qualities society believes are incompatible with fatness. Like that. Like just that being in a fashion magazine.
That says it. That says it. Yeah, and that's it. And, you know, I think we've talked about this. If I go shopping with a fat guy, he wants me to help him pick out clothes. And he just is trained subconsciously or otherwise to go look at black, brown, navy, black, brown, navy, black, brown, navy. Those are the only colors because, you know, there's a thing in this article where fashion in one way is sort of, it's a fantasy.
Yes, I love that.
It's really aspirational too. And so I wonder if the whole black, brown, navy prison is for a lot of fat guys, the aspiration to stay hidden, to not get smacked around, to not be noticed.
I love the direct aesthetic comparison too of when you talk about fashion as fantasy, they're shooting, photo shoots with these like skinny hot models in like museums and, luxury apartments with, skyscraper views and like really these exotic fantasies. And then the plus size men, they're always like in their plaid in a field or, somewhere very like grounded, down to earth, like not fantasy at all, really just a pretty picture of a fat guy.
Somewhere near the apartment, a work site.
That's what I'm saying. The fantasy is to get through your life without being hassled. Apparently that's the fantasy. We should do a shout out here to Savage Fenty again.
Yeah.
Who, for a long time employed plus size models in fantasy environments. Dexter Mayfield, who we've had on the show, has talked about that. I think there's the cover of the article, the main image is Zach Miko.
Yeah.
But in this sort of like amazing fantasy lit, wonderful, it's half landscape and half boudoir. I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like
it's wonderful.
Yeah. It looks like something from a movie set.
Savage Fenty.
Yeah.
I want to make a slight tangent here, but I was watching a movie last night. It was a Nick Cage movie where he's the older guy that shows up in everyone's dreams. I can't remember what it's called.
Freddy Krueger.
But the long and the short of it, he has a monologue in there talking about zebras.
Oh.
Why do zebras always have these black and white stripes when they live on the Serengeti? That's not hiding you from anything. And then when they start talking about is the zebra exists that way so they can blend in with the herd of other zebra to make them harder for predators to pick out.
Right.
And I feel like that's what plus size men fashion has been my entire life.
Oh, fuck yes, Don. Fuck yes.
Like it's blending, it's inoffensive, and it's reinforced by all the straight sized people in my life who compliment the clothes that conceal me, that they think I don't know whether it's that it conceals my body from them or they feel like, oh, if you wear that, you're not going to get picked on as much by the assholes.
And,
right?
and the way to say that to you, Don, is, wow, that shirt really flatters you.
Yeah. And so when that's the only positive reinforcement you get when you dress, that's how you're going to dress, right? You're going to become a zebra. So some suggestions to chasers. If you find your fatter guys in more exciting clothing and more colorful clothing, freaking compliment us, go to the wall, give us some positive reinforcement in a different direction to reward our chances, right? When we take a chance, make it pay off for us. That's all I'm saying. Don't make being a zebra the only way we can survive in public.
Well, because so often if a fat guy wears I'm going to wear a colorful shirt. If it's a purple shirt, there will be inevitably someone who's like, oh, it's Grimace.
Oh, right.
Or, the red shirt, it's Kool-Aid. And that is why I think just the grading down is why it's always black, brown, navy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also the matter of scale. So, if you take it away from the body, there are certain patterns that you would put on a small chair that you wouldn't put on a large sofa. And I think because people get all caught up in their heads about body size, and not, again, I'm not telling anybody what to wear. I'm just saying that sometimes what you think of as a loud or ugly shirt, what you're really objecting to is the scale of pattern.
Yeah.
Or no pattern, where it's just 8 feet of monochrome.
I think the best way to close this out is sharing Dr. Ben Berry's, how they closed the article is, fat menswear isn't just about bigger sizes. It's about blowing open the industry's idea of beauty, health, and desire. It means designing with fat men in mind, not as an afterthought, but as part of the fashion fantasy.
And honestly, getting the men on board.
Yeah.
Getting the men on board, because it is considered unmanly to complain about fashion.
Not to open another subject, but toxic masculinity is resurging in a major way. Not that it was ever gone necessarily, but we've talked about it before. There's all new trends feeding right back into it.
And that gets fed straight into fashion. I think that's a really smart observation, Michael, because I went to DXL before we went to Bigger Vegas. There were some, let's just say, interesting pattern choices available that were kind of pseudo-militaristic or cartoon animals with big guns and ammo. And I'm like,
it goes back into what Dr. Berry was saying, where if you're fat, you have to prove extra that you're masculine.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could go on, but that's definitely phenomenal to see in Fashion Magazine, and especially written by a woman. So thank you so much, Megan. And yes, we need to keep the conversation going, because the more that we ignore these things, the more that they just sort of continue to build on themselves.
So our main topic today
Yes.
I always find it very interesting when I go to Bigger Vegas because I'm a listener. I tend to like to be the fly on the wall and watch the way people interact. And I noticed something interesting while I was there. I don't know how many people at Bigger Vegas really excel at selling themselves. Going up and making the introduction and saying hi, that opens the door. But if you want to get to know someone from that point on, you are kind of selling yourself to a degree. You're putting out your personality, you're putting out some of your interests. You're trying to see if what you've got is something they're interested in. I witnessed a scary number of conversations that consisted of, hey, long pause.
Oh, God.
How are you liking the con? That's good. Long pause.
Oh, God.
Okay, have fun. And they go their separate, like, okay. So, like, let's assess. I also had the experience of being next to a friend in a jacuzzi who was sitting next to somebody that I thought he found the gentleman attractive. He was trying to have a conversation and the conversation was almost there. The guy would ask him a question and then my friend was not great at sort of upselling his own responses, right? Like he's a smart, clever, handsome guy and was unable to admit any of that in his conversation.
Do you mean unable to admit or unable to evince? Like you'd never know.
I would say admit, because like I think it's all there. I think but the concept of saying something aggrandizing about himself was so uncomfortable to him. Yeah. And then I'm sitting next to him. I'm like, well, screw it. I'll pitch him. And so I'm leaning across and I'm talking up this guy to the guy I think he finds attractive in the jacuzzi. And when I left them, they were having a lovely conversation. The topic today is the wingman. How to sell yourself in conversations during these meet and mingle situations. How to be a good friend and pitch your friend and be a good wingman.
My take on this is kind of twofold. I think that in the context of like Bigger Vegas, there's this really complex overlap of people who are there for community primarily and open to hookups, people who are there for hookups primarily and aren't really interested in socializing. And then maybe outside or connected to both of those, people who are there looking for relationships, like looking to date. That aren't really into the hookup culture. They want community, but they want to meet somebody that they're like romantically, linked with.
They want to have a connection.
They want to have a connection. And so all of these different kind of goals are floating around. They have a tag system where you can add little, ribbon tags to your badge that kind of in a cute way vaguely express what you're looking for. Like they had a looking for friends one, but I don't feel like people really use those very much or like not nearly to the degree that they could. And so a lot of times you're sort of decoding like, okay, well, what is this person looking for? And to Don's point, like selling yourself doesn't just have to mean like, I'm a great candidate for a relationship. It can be also, I'm a great candidate for a conversation right now. And I have things to share and perspectives to share. But if you can't do that, the other person's not going to intuit that on their own. And so you kind of have to pick up the tools to say like, yeah, this is what I'm about. And also be able to ask the other person what they're about.
This has happened before at Bigger Vegas. And
pray tell what?
And I know that there is, I would say maybe even probably like at least 50%, if not more, of people going to Bigger Vegas because like I need a husband, I'm gonna catch me a man. Like and like that is fine. Like I have my relationship privilege. I would have been in that exact position at a different time. But there is very much a thing where people fall into, they find their potential match and everyone else gets blocked out, but they are not clear about that.
I heard about that happening.
I had someone this has happened other years and I should have known better, wasting my time.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, I fell head over heels in love. It's like, great. You could have just said that. I gave them an out. And they kind of just kept pushing like, well, maybe later. Yeah, and I was like, on Sunday, I got that text of like, I just fell head over heels and I had to see him off to the airport. It's like, you literally could have said that. We had a face-to-face conversation. Like, we're like, let's get together later. Yes.
In the guy's defense, sometimes you don't know that you're head over heels until you realize, hey, I've been here 3 days and the one guy that I met is all I can think about. And you're like, gosh, I bet that means something. and then you send that text.
I'm very happy for them and for everyone who met their match. They just kind of like,
but not for wasting your time.
We can tell by the tone of your
voice. I'm very fucking happy for you.
I have unlocked my eyes from the back of my head and we can move on.
Congratulations.
So first off, I want to just give a conversational pointer to everyone who's unaware. If someone says hello to you and you say hi back and you don't say anything after that point, to me, that is a straight up indicator of like, I have no interest in you whatsoever.
Exactly.
Right? That is the clearest sign to hold up. And I will go away. I have been chastised from people for leaving the conversation when it seemed like they had no interest whatsoever in talking to me.
Yeah.
Because apparently they had interest in me. They just did, like, they expected me to just know that somehow.
Same, Don, same. So I want to do two things. One, I actually just saw on, I think it was Instagram, I found, believe it or not, an etiquette coach.
Yeah.
And she specializes in tweens and people in their 20s because that particular age group has very little experience interacting with people in the wild. They only interact with people through screens.
Yeah.
And their parents are also in their screens, so they don't model the behavior like at the grocery store talking to the checker. And I thought this was genius, and it's a great little thing that I want to share. She says extroverts do this automatically, but it's not a personality thing. It's just training. Number one, notice something about the person. 2, compliment it. And then 3, ask a follow-up question. Like, oh, wow, that's a great shirt. So you notice the shirt, you complimented the shirt, and then you can say, where did you get that? Or how did you decide on that shirt? You can ask an open-ended question that will then have a conversation about it.
As a visual representation of that, I think of that as playing ball with your conversational partner.
Yes.
The opening hello is them tossing you a ball. When you just say hi back, you have caught the ball and not returned it. Right?
Exactly.
Crush it in your hand.
Yeah.
Which implies that you don't want to play.
Right. But if you do want to play, by doing what Dan just said, right, it doesn't even matter if it's not a deep comment. It doesn't need to rock their world. It doesn't need to be the most brilliant pickup line. By returning the ball to them with any question, with any thought, with any observation about something in the area, you've created a ball game. The ball is back with them now. They can return it to you. And by exchanging the ball repeatedly, that's how you create the connection.
So now that the extroverts have spoken, I would like to do a little advocating for the introverts, which is that if you're the type of person like me who, I had to teach myself how to have conversations when I was young. And when I say young, I mean like teenager. Yeah. So I would have loved to have this etiquette coach help guide me through it and make those observations. But I find myself sort of on a natural level falling into the habit of, if I can't nail it, if I can't say the perfect thing, then I don't speak up at all, or I don't make a move at all. I keep to myself. And that's just that's a characteristic, that's a quirk of mine. I think it's fairly common. And so if you find yourself oh, well, what would I compliment them about? I don't want to say something wrong. I don't want to, just keep this in mind. The point of those, what I would call small talk moments, is not the content of the small talk. It is to get a conversation going. Yep. And eventually you will land on subjects that are meaningful. Yes. You will learn something about the other person eventually. You just have to, it's like warming up. You can't just jump into playing an athletic sport. You have to warm up first. Small talk is the warm up.
I love that. And I also would compare it to Don's analogy. The point of playing catch is not to have fingers on a ball. It's to have an exchange.
I mean, ultimately, the point may be to get your fingers on some balls, but that's up to you. No one's going to judge.
So what went through my mind when Don was first talking about this, the hi, how are you? Going into the
God,
okay, but we replay, we go into all of the little micro expressions going on. And I think that's something that, I don't know, I feel like as an introvert who also has a very specific trauma with needing to read people's micro expressions and moods, I think getting in the habit, especially at these events, of just being clocking kind of, if someone's just I'm either drunk, I'm bored, or I am very into this person and I don't want to fumble it.
Oh yeah. There's the so smitten they can't speak. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also in the case of trying to open up a conversation with someone who, it's Saturday night and they're pretty drunk, you're going to waste a lot of your night. And then you kind of get cornered in the pool and you're oh man, now I'm just I'm trapped here.
Yeah.
I have a question for, I suppose, everybody, but I'm assuming the extroverts are going to jump on this. So One thing that I heard about a lot from friends of mine who were new to the event and kind of trying to figure out how to navigate it was, you're looking around, you're trying to kind of identify people you might be interested in. And very frequently in the kind of social settings the event sets up, like in the pool or at a club, there's already groups. Mm-hmm. Now, a group is one thing. A group is like more than three, at least three people. But oftentimes there are already people paired off. There's just like, it's a couple there, it's a couple there, it's a couple there. And you don't want to like interrupt a one-on-one.
I've had that happen, and it is not great.
Yeah, not great. So I guess the question was like, if all of the people you're identifying as interests are already in like one-on-one interactions, and you kind of have to put aside like, okay, maybe I'm not talking to a sexual attraction interest in this moment. How do you refocus yourself? Like, what else do you look for? Like, are you just going to walk up to literally random people and say, hey, can I join you? Or
it depends. So first of all, before you approach, read the body language. I think even from 10 feet away, not even hearing the conversation, you can read if something intimate is going on or whether they're just having a good time and laughing. Having a good time and laughing, that's an opening for may I join you. If you see an exchange of touch, if you see extended gazes, if you see silence and extended gazes, that's probably a prelude to intimacy. There are as many times where I've observed, and again, here's all my visual evidence. My visual evidence is it's a fat guy and a thin guy, and they are engaged in a focused conversation. I am not going to step into that. Not because I'm like, hello, I'm probably the most extroverted person I know. I'm not going to step into that just because it's like, I don't want to cock block if that's a chub chaser thing.
That's what we call cock blocking. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to step into that. That's awful. That's awful. And I hate it when people do it to me. So I think you can read the body language very safely from a distance. Yeah. And again, you're looking for gaze and body contact and facial expression. And then you can make your move.
I also think distance between participants is a big indicator too.
Yeah, how close are they standing? Yeah. Which varies culture to culture, but come on. People in America know American culture.
I have another question. So another thing I ran into, which I feel like I have to kind of phrase carefully, like this is, let me put it this way. I didn't run into this with any known like podcast listeners. Like this is sort of outside of that sphere where I would be like, in a larger group, 3, 4, 5 people. So maybe not that large, but, more than just me and someone, we'd all be talking and someone would kind of drift over in the pool and kind of seek me out specifically to like strike up a conversation. So I'm open to that. Like I'll turn and say like, hey, like, how's it going? Maybe I sort of brushed by, not brushed by, but like met them at some other point. It frequently happens, I would say more often than not in this case, where the person doesn't do a particularly good job of like there's kind of the first question and then they doesn't really go anywhere. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they kind of linger, kind of looking at me for attention or like waiting for me to give them something that is not the conversation that we're having. And it gets awkward and it kind of turns into this like, well, I was hanging out with my friends. You're not really joining the group. You're just focusing on me. So now you're pulling me away from the group, but you have nothing to really say. And I don't know how to navigate this. I don't know how to like be polite, but also say, well, if you're not going to like actually have a conversation with me, I want to get back to my friends.
Right. So there's two possibilities here. If you would like the conversation with this individual to continue, you ask them a question and that will continue the conversation. If, which is what it sounds like, you're more interested in rejoining your friends because that's where the fun part was, you can invite them back into the friend group. You can say like, oh, have you met? Just do an introduction because they probably haven't met whomever you're talking to. Okay. Just introduce them. So let's say, you're chatting with David and you say like, oh, have you met David? And then what'll happen, what'll happen 4 times out of 5 is if they don't want to be part of that, they will excuse themselves.
So what I did do exactly that. And what happened was they like had a brief interaction with the person I introduced them to. And then they kind of just like turned back to me, like almost turned their back on the person I introduced them to.
Oh God.
Yeah, here's what you do. Here's what you do. You'll notice, by the way, it doesn't just happen in Bigger Vegas in the pool or something. Like this happens all the time in life. And what you can do is use your eye contact to include other people every time you respond to one of their questions.
Oh my God, I had to do
Yeah,
that.
it's okay.
I have to be vague with the details, but yeah, I did exactly that.
Yeah,
There was
you refocus.
another group setting. Somebody in the group was focusing on me to the full-blown exclusion
Yes.
of everyone else in the conversation. And they were driving the conversation. They were very verbal. So like nobody else had a chance to jump in for 10 straight minutes.
Oh, God.
And basically monologuing.
Yeah.
And eventually I was making a point to avoid their eye contact in order to look at the other people in the group to like try like indicate like you are ignoring these people. And it's really awkward.
I've been in that situation, and my solution, this may be a little too aggressive for you, but this is my solution, is I will actually stop them and I'll say, oh, you know what? I'd love to hear what David has to say about that. Or maybe he has a different point to make. Like you have to stop them, alter the flow. Maybe someone wants to participate in that conversation. Maybe they want to start a new conversation, but just the act of interruption, it'll be very hard for them to just continue and restart. Mm-hmm. Like something will happen that will change the dynamic.
You have to cut them off.
You can do it respectfully. You can do it gently. But an intervention, a rock in the stream is necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, that can work, but in my experience, I've done that exact same tactic. I find the one who wants to dominate the conversation, if you try to pass it off to someone else, they may try and seize the reins.
Yep.
As soon as that person starts talking.
That can happen.
You may just have to go in for a second, quick, like polite bat to the nose and handing the reins back to the person you gave it to. So that person understands, no, someone else is talking right now.
Right.
That is a tactic you might have to be prepared to follow up on. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. So again, it depends if you want to make it a teaching moment. If you want to make it a teaching moment, you need to like check them, like reins on a horse, like you said. However, sometimes the solution, if you do not wish to be, if you're not that kind of person, or you just don't want it to be an educational moment because that's not what you do, what you can do is simply excuse yourself on any pretext. Like, excuse me, I need to go answer a text. I need to make a phone call. I need to go get another drink. The point is, any change in the group dynamic will affect the group dynamic. So, and sometimes if you don't want to be there for that, you don't have to be there for that. And guess what? You're not trapping your friends with it because they can do the same thing. You just showed them how. That monologuer will find himself with no one to monologue with.
Maybe I don't think this person listens to the show, but maybe I don't want to give too many details. But yes, that would have worked. It didn't occur to me at the time, but I'll take that.
You can even do it like, let's say you're at a dinner table. Like you can't just leave the dinner. You're kind of there. You can still get up and use the restroom. You can still, I promise you, it will have the desired effect.
I also want to just pause real quick and just switch over to the subject of wingmen.
Yeah.
I can't think of a kinder, more affirming way to express friendship than being able to stand next to a friend and just be able to espouse their positive qualities in public to someone else. I don't think that's only just for romantic situations either. Like being a good hype man is just a good thing to be to people that you love, right? Because you can pump them up in ways that they didn't know they needed pumping up, and you can affirm for them ways that they are awesome that they would never think about. I think it's a good thing to be.
I agree.
I'm just going to go out and say being a wingman is a wonderful public service you can do for people you love.
I had an experience of trying to be a wingman to a friend who just like was, I don't know, very nervous and flustered. Mm-hmm. And Dan and I kind of had established, like he was talking to someone, I was talking to someone, they were into each other. And it was like, just like, go talk to him. Like, just, you literally just have to say like, hi, or like, just be a normal human being for a second. And then finally, like I was tired and like Dan and I were leaving and we were like, you're both into each other. Bye. Like, go
with God.
Do something with this.
I love that.
I want to add like maybe an additional perspective to the wingmanning thing. Cause I was also doing that. There's a friend of mine who was new to the event and I was like genuinely excited to just say like, oh, like he's got all these amazing characteristics to just anyone that I introduced him to. It doesn't have to be like a prospective hookup or romantic interest or whatever. Just as a way to like get people talking. And I think that's the key. I think for me, there's a type of wingmanning, which is like a performance. It's like a monologue of things about the person that the person being spoken to has no ability to interact with. They just have to like stand and wait for minutes on end. And I think that is bad. I think the type of wingmanning that really works is highlight briefly the really positive and interesting characteristics about the other person and then allow conversation to form around those things. You have to leave room for the other person, the listener, to then respond to this stuff.
Very wise. And that's also a skill set to have a wingman. Listen to what the guy's saying and pick up that thread when your wingman leads it over to you. That's important.
Yeah, I haven't got that kind of time. Here's what I do. No, I have been very blunt about this with, I think it was my birthday party, and I had two introverts sort of standing across the room. It wasn't even romantic. It was just like they're both not have conversations, and they're at my party, so I want to try to facilitate something. And so I just said, oh, John, you should ask David about video games. Just give them an opening, something they share in common. Or sometimes I can be more mysterious about it. And this is, again, I'm not the only host who does this. I'm saying, you two need to talk to each other. You have some things in common. Go find out what they are. Like, now it's a puzzle, you know?
I agree with Dan, but I also think if you've got the time for it, introducing the conversation that you know that both of them will excel at, and then ducking out once it's rolling is a great thing to do too.
It is. But I find that if you're a bit vague about it, it gives them more to talk about.
Yeah, I agree. But you can do that with presenting the conversation as well.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second. I suspect Trevor might be about to say the exact same thing. So I think there is a difference between two people who are standing in front of each other that have interests that you just need to like prompt them into a conversation, and two people who have not expressed any particular interest and kind of like forcing them together, which can work. But there's also an experience in social settings that is an intense anxiety where you want to participate, but maybe participating for you looks like, observing the room. And I think there is a really acute experience of being thrown into something, having the spotlight shined on you. I see this running D&D games where I have players who are having a blast and they're saying almost nothing. And it's because there's a different kind of participation, which I think there's room for, which is that I don't have to be the one talking, and I don't have to be the one being talked at to still enjoy the context and what's happening.
I'm talking about, though, when a person stands apart from the group and I don't see them going back in. Like, as a host, I want to include them. And I'm not speaking romantically. I'm not trying to get them to hook up.
I'm just saying, like, maybe like ask them first. Like, would you like me to introduce you to somebody and get something started? Sure. I think there's a line of consent because you might be triggering an anxiety attack.
True.
I will also say that whole, like, you have things in common is weird. And I, very early on, like when I first moved to LA, there was a point where you did that and someone heard, and then it was a whole weird thing of like, well, what is it? Like, what do you guys have in common?
Oh.
And they were just kind of like glommed on. And I was like, I don't really, like, I don't know. And I'm uncomfortable. That was something where you like drop that bomb and then walk away.
It might just be him twirling his mustache and raising the eyebrow when he says it.
For decades, and especially as a chaser, I will get chubs who say like, oh, you should introduce me. You should introduce me to some of your chaser friends. You should introduce me. And I used to do that. And it was always a disaster. And I started to realize that it actually is never the case that you don't know enough people. Like, if you don't have a date, it's never that you don't know enough people. It's that there is something that's going on where there's a dampening field that you're putting out, it's rarely the case that I just need to give them more names to hit up. That is never the solution I have found.
Mm-hmm.
I had an experience at Bigger Vegas, and I feel like this could be a whole separate topic of meeting someone in person who I had kind of like missed connections with on the apps, where like we tried to meet, it didn't work out. And the energy was so different and so much better in person.
Mm-hmm. Often.
And it was like just so weird. And I've had that before where the online energy is so different from the in-person energy.
Mm-hmm.
Usually better, but like in one case, it was just like so jarringly different that I was just like so thrown off when I met the person IRL.
This also happens in photos. Like, their photo online I'm not very visual, so unless they look exactly like their photo in that lighting, I'm like, who are you?
But like, it was such a good, like, quick, fun, this is going to happen and this is great. And then it was like, there's something here, let's get together. But also, like, we're both just kind of vibing right now. And then like went our separate ways. And such a, like, I don't know, I feel like maybe just like normal people, like civilians, straight people, like get to do that all the time. But it was just like a very fun experience too. Getting in the pool when the music wasn't too loud and we had done the podcast, I got to kind of get back in my Bigger Vegas vibe. It was very fun.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Nice.
Well, I'm sure there's more we could talk about there, but that's probably about as much as people can absorb for one episode. So
as much as they can hack.
We have a tip this week, though.
Yes. So are you feeling like, do you have the FOMO? Do you have the post FOMO? Like, oh man, like I should have gone to Bigger Vegas. Like, fuck, like what am I going to do? Well, Chubchella is happening September 12th through 15th in Cathedral City, California at the CCBC, the famous clothing optional resort. It's 3 days of wild fun in the sun, big bodies, big vibes, and big fun. There's going to be daily and nightly pool parties with DJs, sexy surprises, and some built-in downtime to explore Palm Springs.
That sounds awesome.
It cannot be overstated how, I guess, like enlightening the experience of like what Dan says, where gay is normal and fat is sexy. Like that's not just like a catchphrase. That is a foundational experience. Every first timer goes to an event and gets to feel that. There's a reason people keep coming back. Like it is incredible. And I think for me, I think, the idea of going to a clothing optional event, if that's your first event, might be much, but who knows? I think push yourself outside your comfort zone first and then, see where it goes.
And I will say it is clothing optional. It is not nude required. So I have been to the CCBC many times and never gotten naked.
Nice. Yeah. I think you don't have to worry about sticking out by wanting to wear clothes. It's just a thing that, people can do if they like.
Yeah. I have never been to Palm Springs. I have never attended a naked event. Both of those things are a little scary to me. I kind of want to try it. So
yeah, Palm Springs is scary.
I've heard stories. That's all.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
okay.
You can learn more at clubchubusa.com. They have a link to the event page, and you can get tickets through Eventbrite.
How about a bit?
All right. With the return of Susan Powter at the start of our show, I started thinking about, a lot of those 90s things from television that, don't exist anymore. I was thinking like the Ronco chicken rotisserie thing on the
Rompopeel.
Oh yeah, Rompopeel and all those little, as seen on TV things. So I thought I'd dig into some of those and see where some of those are now.
I was wondering why I didn't know what you were talking about, and then you said as seen on TV. I was like, oh, okay. That's it.
Yep.
Oh man, Michael, there's so much stupid stuff you missed.
I know.
Okay, so for example, one of the things that I was looking to find online is the Better Marriage blanket.
What?
So there is a blanket, a magic blanket they sold on TV that promised they could improve your marriage if you would buy this, right?
I love it.
Here's the question. What was the selling point on this that they said would improve your marriage?
I have vague memories of this.
Separate bedrooms.
One. The Better Marriage blanket was a large felt tube that two people could barely fit inside together. And if you slept together that way, they promised it would improve your marriage. You just be basically stuck together in a little straitjacket overnight.
Hell, absolute hell. Never.
Two, the Better Marriage blanket was sound absorbing to better combat snoring over the course of the night. You could wrap it around your head and it promised blessed peace.
Yeah, because they suffocate.
Yeah, you just wrap it around your ears and you wouldn't hear your partner snoring.
Oh dear. Okay.
Or three, it absorbed farts. That was it.
Okay.
It was a gas absorbing blanket.
Charcoal.
So where do they go?
Or four, it had his and hers color patterns available. So the left and right side of the comforter could be completely different patterns, one feminine, one masculine.
Oh, that all sound dreadful. All sounds dreadful.
I'm going to go with 4.
You think of his and her color patterns?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fart absorbent.
Okay. And Michael's going with farts.
Yeah.
Wait, Muck is going with farts. Trevor's going with color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only thing I can pick then is the most ridiculous of the 4, which is we're going to epoxy you together and that'll help your marriage.
Well, the correct answer is, in fact, it was fart absorbing.
No.
While I couldn't find any of these online for sale, I could find they are now selling something called the Dutch oven blanket.
Oh my God.
Oh dear.
And runs for about $40 online. So The Ronco Popeil Corporation was one of the most popular sort of like home inventor empires around. Well, I already mentioned earlier, they were famous for their rotisserie chicken. They were also famous for their dehydrators, so you could make dehydrated fruit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Jerky was big. Jerky was big.
Jerky was big. They were very big on the jerky. But probably the most famous product made by Ronco was the Ronco Pocket Fisherman.
Oh my God, I remember that.
Launched in 1963, it originally sold for $19.95. And guess what, boys and girls? You can still buy them.
No.
They're on sale for about $35 at places like Walmart. So, but basically over the years, the Ronco Pocket Fisherman has become a cultural icon with all sorts of fascinating little features. Which of the following is not a feature on the Ronco Pocket Fisherman? 1, it has a fully hidden tackle box hidden in the handle. 2, it is fully collapsible. 3, it has a safety storage compartment for hooks. Or 4, while all of the packaging clearly indicates that it's suitable for children, at no point anywhere in the packaging does it claim to be child safe.
I think it's the last one.
Yeah.
I think the last one, I don't think it was required for things to be child safe until the 90s or.
Well, that's because there were no children until then.
They kept dying. Yeah, that's my guess.
Problem solved.
Everyone's going for child safe?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, the feature that is not included on this is safety storage compartment for hooks.
Oh, really?
You're on your own when it comes to hooks.
That was my second guess because, well, doesn't the tackle box hold the hooks too?
Yeah.
Or is tackle, okay, if
that's what tackle box
if tackle means hooks, I thought tackle was like the lures and stuff. I didn't realize that included the hooks.
I don't know. I'm not
it's tackle. It's everything.
I'm declaring this question completely botched by the person who did it, having no comprehension of what fishing is.
Let's find him.
The guy who listens while he's fishing is screaming right now in the middle of a lake.
In the middle of a silent lake.
So this is a device that was new to me. It's actually from much later, released in 2013. The Fat Magnet hit the shelves. It is short, squat, handheld device that looks a bit like an upside-down mushroom with a metal cap. While I can't find any for sale in the US anymore, I did see one on sale on eBay in the UK for about £5. So it's compact, easy to use, apparently, and promises to stick to fat? Make fat magnetic? All right, what the hell does the fat magnet claim to do? 1, removes the fat from broths, gravies, and other liquids. 2, pulls fat cells closer to the surface of the skin for smoother, more supple, youthful skin. 3, disrupts fat cells with magnetism in the body so they go away, slimming the body. Or 4, shape and sculpt body parts by allowing users to redistribute their body fat in new ways however they wish. Which of those things was what the fat magnet claimed to do?
There was a Garfield comic about that, and I wonder if it was a joke about, like, Garfield was just like, I can rearrange my fat into muscles, and he turns into like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I think it's the first one.
Remove fat from broths, gravies, and other liquids.
The first one actually makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a little too much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes way too much sense. TV. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like I think it's just like a ladle, basically. Like, it's like what you do with a ladle. It's like, no, you need this special device.
I think it's the first one. Yeah. I'm still going with it because I got nothing.
The correct answer is, in fact, removing the fat from broths, gravies, and other liquids.
Yay.
Okay.
The way this thing worked was you were supposed to put it in the freezer. You would get the top of it ice cold, and then you would stick it into your soup and kind of wiggle it around so that the fat solidifies and you pull it out.
So there is a TikTok trend going, maybe somewhat recently, that Mythical Kitchen, the YouTube channel, tested this and other fat removal theories for hot pot specifically. And the TikTok version of it is get a ladle and put it on ice for a while. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
And he tested it out. Does not work nearly as well as just using a fucking paper towel or a spoon.
Probably not.
Oh, that's interesting.
No, all right.
It, like, conceptually it works, but in practice it doesn't.
Yeah, because it heats up so quickly.
The recommendation I heard was like to take a more than is necessary off the top of your soup, right? Put it in a cup, put that in the freezer, and then the fat hardens right away. You can lift it right out and then put the rest of the soup back in your soup. So, all right. Our last question of the day. Anyone remember Miss Cleo?
Oh, yeah.
Nope.
Oh.
Miss Cleo was one of the best known phone psychics of the 1990s.
Yeah, Michael was off planet.
Her familiar Jamaican accent came out of TV sets around the country, browbeating all of her listeners to
Call me now.
in her lovely Jamaican accent, which, by the way, was not real.
Oh, wow.
She was an actress who lived here in Los Angeles and was a theater producer.
That's incredible. I love that.
So, which of the following is not a true fact about Miss Cleo, famous phone psychic from the 1990s? She was openly gay. Came out in 2006. 2. She voiced a character in Grand Theft Auto Vice City. 3. When the Psychic Readers Network that she was the face of collapsed and was taken down under huge scandal by the FCC, she was never charged with any wrongdoing. She got away scot-free. Or 4. She is the great aunt of Jenny Ortega, Wednesday Addams of the Wednesday series.
I think it's that she got away scot-free.
I don't think she's Jenny Ortega's great aunt because I feel like I would have heard that, and only because like Gen Z would be discovering who Miss Cleo is.
I'll go with Trevor.
When in doubt.
All right.
Yeah, when in doubt.
When in doubt, that is the right way to go. She is not, in fact, the great aunt of Jenny Ortega, Wednesday Addams of Wednesday.
See, and I was like, and before Trevor spoke, I was like, nah, Don would never make that up.
Was she charged with anything? Like, did she have to like
No, she was a spokesperson. Like, she had nothing to do with the business practices of the organization.
Yeah.
She was just the face that they paid to go on and go on TV and pitch them. So,
yeah.
Okay.
But Trevor, if somebody here has been the face of a scam organization for a decade, where can they come to tell us all about it?
Well, we're on Instagram and Blue Sky. Give us a follow there. It's so hard. It's like I can't do it without the music. We're on Instagram and Blue Sky. Give us a follow there. We're on Facebook. Give us 5 stars or a review on your preferred podcast platform. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/bigfatgaypod. Join our Discord. Sign up for our newsletter. See the articles we talked about at www.bigfatgaypod.com. Baby, maybe you are fishing and you've calmed down. It's okay that we don't know about hooks and tackle boxes. And you just caught a big fish and you're holding it up to admire it, but our eagle's coming, so
watch out.
Oh no!